So this is one of my favorite questions to answer because it really confuses people. So I'm a psychic medium, and I have been channeling with God for over a year now. So when my channels first came online, the voice that came into my head came in as God. So that's like what I started to say. And then throughout my journey, I actually disconnected from that term, and I started using different terms like my guides, them, myself. Like I used a bunch of different terms. So I've actually sacred spiraled my way back to using the term God again. And the reason for that is because I've been told that believing in God is a human experience. You don't get to believe in God unless you are down here on this planet, because when we are outside of here, we already know we are God. We're omnipotent. We know we're all knowing when we're outside of here, just like God, because we are God. We're fractals of God, experiencing this reality in co-creation with Him. And so technically, it's hard to explain. Technically, God does not exist. Technically, we are God. But there's certain things that we do as humans that are part of our experience. We experience linear time. We experience physical reality. We experience gravity. We experience emotions. We experience negative disconnection from God. So part of being a human, or the magical part of being a human, is believing in God, or believing in whatever you want to believe in, the universe, deities, whatever it is. And so I have reconnected back to that part of the way that I refer to that energy. There's many reasons for this. One of the reasons I've been told is because I get visions. I'm a psychic. So I see visions of myself reaching mass audiences someday that aren't necessarily privy to the information that I share. So it's to help kind of reach into their subconscious of what is already planted there, which is that God is a He. Another reason why I do it is because it's healing for my inner child. As a child, I loved God and I loved Jesus, and I refer to God as a Him because I was raised Christian. And so for me, it's really healing for my inner child to reconnect back to God in this way. Now, technically, God is a woman. I've gotten channels about how God in this universe is a woman. The energy of God, is what I've been told, is it's 51% feminine, 49% masculine. And those are energies, not genders. And actually the most representative embodiment of God on this planet is trans people, because they carry both the masculine and the feminine energies, and they also transition, which represents ascension. So the they them pronoun is actually the most accurate pronoun for God. God is pretty much genderless. And if you want to be more accurate, like, God is technically a woman. Because like our wombs as women, our wombs represent the creation story. Our creator was Sophia. That's what I get. So the Gnosticism route, if you've ever heard of Gnosticism. She was kind of chilling in presence, which presence represents the womb. Sophia is the person, and then the baby is creation. And so so women physically embody the creator down here. But I refer to God as a man because, again, it's healing for my inner child, and I need to reach people whose subconscious already have that into their subconscious. Because it's going to be really hard for me to, does that make sense? It's hard for me to break the barriers. Basically, God wants me to have this be as easy as possible, because my lane is going to be deconstructing Christianity. And so that's why I refer to God in so many different ways. I also have a different video about this that I'll probably post first on Easter, about a little bit more, I say the same kind of thing here. So this is a little bit redundant, but like I said, repeat a lot of my channels because that's how our brains work. We require repetition. And so when I'm repeating things, it's just to seed more into your subconscious, to get the kind of gist of it down. So your belief in God is a personal journey down here, and you get to refer to that energy whichever way you want. Sometimes I'll say source as well. I won't just say God. And that is strategic. God wants me to strategically kind of use different pronouns and say different things to describe that energy, because God wants me to break the paradigms of people's reality. That God is not just a man, but that you can still connect to God in that way if that feels healing for you and your inner child. Because that's my main goal, is my inner child. I that's what I started all this journey on. I didn't even intend to become a psychic medium. I was like on a healing journey to heal my inner child, because my inner child was like, I had like a really traumatic child. I've had a really traumatic life, but really a traumatic childhood and teenage year. The whole life was just very traumatic. So, so for me, it's very, very healing, for my inner child to reconnect back to God in that way. And also I've had a lot of men who have hurt me in my life, like deeply. I've been in abusive, narcissistic, abusive, domestic abusive relationships. A lot of men were like really rude to me because I was fat. So I was treated very inhumanely by men my whole life, and then my father's a narcissistic abuser. So, for me, again, it's very healing to like feel like the masculine energy that I call God is like unconditionally loving me finally, and not punishing me, and healing me and all these things which God kind of didn't my whole life. And I disconnected from God for a long time, and I disconnected from that term for 7 years. I called it the universe. But I was always connected to God. That's what I'm starting to realize. And so that is why I use that term. I love when people ask me this question, and I know it's rather confusing, but it is strategic by God, because we have to break the paradigms of the reality in which we exist in right now, especially around God, because Christians have overtaken it with manipulation and not the full truth of things. And that is because we're in a patriarchy and we're in a dissension period, and it was designed that way by God, so we could explore the disconnection from him. And so that is really what's happening right now. I know this is like a really long explanation, but that is my reasoning. And so that's what I've been guided to. I encourage people to believe in God because it is part of the human experience. You don't necessarily have to call it God. You can call it whatever you want, but just believe in like an energy, because it's a dualistic thing. It's an energy that's outside of us that created this universe, but it is also the energy that runs through every single everything, living and non-living, is God. Everything is God. So, yeah, that's my story about that.